A model cannot predict why things are exactly the way they are ab initio, in other words, right at the beginning. If a model can go one step further and predict why the key numbers are exactly the way they are and the only way they can be because of the way the model is set up, then it becomes a theory. It becomes entirely self-consistent and it couldn't be anything different. And I think that's really what the question is probably driving at. A hypothesis is a suggestion. A theory is also rather like a suggestion, and I think that's possibly the confusion in the question as it's actually asked at the moment. If you ask the question slightly differently, then it's a question of how self-consistent it is. Taking it one stage back, a hypothesis is anything you think might be the case. And in fact, my own talk tomorrow will be based on a number of hypotheses which are suggestive of certain experiments that should be carried out to test whether or not the hypothesis has any direct experimental evidence in its favour. And the more experimental evidence you can bring to support a hypothesis, the stronger it gets. And at some point, I think the mainstream definition would be that with significant experimental evidence, a hypothesis can assume the status of a theory. But along the way, I think a hypothesis probably incorporates a model, and to me the word model is much more easy to understand because being an engineer by background, I find the idea of models and how things work and if you pull this lever what happens to be a much more intuitive way of thinking about things rather than a hypothesis. Well, yes, that's rather a philosophical term which seems to be a little bit woolly at the edges, although I'm sure other people would have very good definitions, I'm just not aware of them.